Hi everyone, and you're very welcome to our second episode of the RTÉ Soccer Podcast for this season. As you can see, they've brought me back. I must have did okay. So here we are. I'd just like to welcome Richie is back again, and don't worry, Bohs fans, I'm going to grill him today. And Barry Murphy has also joined us. Good to see you, lads.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us on.
How's all? Yeah,
all good. Yeah,
good weekend.
Yeah, great.
Richie,
weekend.
your notifications hopping on the phone after last week.
Getting sent a few things on social media. But it was all in good fun.
Right, well, before we get into that and before we get into the football, there was another Towell family member, if you like, who was performing yesterday, won the dancing. So it was Mrs. Towell last week, Richie. Yeah. It was young Princess Towell this weekend.
The two of them. So I have two little girls. They both had a dance competition yesterday. They did, and my youngest one got 2 first place, and my oldest one got 2 first, a second, and a third. So. Brilliant.
The Towell family get a weekly mention now, Barry.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only reason I come on.
Now, some would argue you're a bit of a princess yourself, Richie.
Absolutely.
But I went to the match yesterday, and we're going to get into obviously all the football side of things. The opening weekend, we're up and running, which is absolutely fantastic. But just on the match yesterday, I was walking up to the ground, I was inside the ground, coming out, and I was getting non-stop people coming up to me saying, "How did you let Towell away with that remark last week?" And you know what? They were right? I met the Kelly family. So Joe Kelly, Brian Kelly, all his family, the mum, the wife, the whole lot, the kids. And they says to me, "How did you let him away with that?" I have to say, I thought that remark was a bit much, Richie. And when you look at Bohs, obviously, in the crowd that they had in there yesterday, have you anything to say to the Bohs fans after all the stick you've taken all week?
Look, I was never welcome at Dalymount Park, and I'm definitely not welcome now. The only way my point was coming from was I want the whole standard of the league to raise. When I played, I tried to do it as a player. I tried to live like a proper footballer, when probably back then people didn't really live like footballers should do. So I tried to always raise the levels on the pitch. Now off the pitch, I think they need to get raised. There's far too many grounds in the league that aren't acceptable. You see some of them that are, the likes of Derry that are completely renovating theirs, looks great. I know they have an artificial pitch which probably doesn't suit them at the moment. You see the work that Shamrock Rovers have done, looks incredible, great family environment. And it'd be brilliant if the likes of Bohs or Pats get Tolka Park up to a better standard, because when it does that, it's only going to raise the standards in the league, and that's what we want. Okay,
that's a fair comment. So you take that one word, you take it up.
Yeah, I'll probably take that word out. That's what my own wife said to me. Why did you have to say that?
Okay, well, that's fair enough. And once the wife speaks, I told you, the Towell family members, once they get involved, that's all good. Barry, you were in the Aviva yesterday. I was in there. Great occasion, great turnout. The game, forgettable.
Yeah, I brought the kids in yesterday morning. It was great to be able to bring them in at 2 o'clock on a Sunday as well. Like Friday night at 8 o'clock is just, they're still little, and to expose them to that, they loved it. They love to walk in. They love the flares outside, the fan culture coming in. As you said, the experience on the pitch wasn't great, but I think should a league game be in the Aviva in 10, 15 years' time? No. I think you've got to hope the clubs have got the stadium in place to cater for the capacity that now want to see a League of Ireland game. And I think it's down to Bohs' ingenuity off the pitch that now they've outgrown Dalymount basically, and they've got to cater for what they're going to do in 2 years' time. Or sorry, this year. They've got 2 years without Dalymount, and you're missing that fixed sponsorship on the ground there. So there's got to be kind of show that ingenuity around bringing money into the club at the moment. You're competing against Shamrock Rovers, you're competing against Derry, these multi-club or these kind of different models of ownership. You look at Shamrock Rovers, owned by the fans, part owned by Dermot Desmond. You look at Derry now, Philip O'Doherty splashing the cash around. They've got to compete off the pitch. They're going to compete on the pitch, and this is what Bohs are doing. They've got 21,000 people at that game yesterday, 17,000 more than would have been in Dalymount. Are you losing the atmosphere? Of course you are, but you're exposing yourself to a whole new fan base. My kids loved it yesterday. They want to go back. So when you go to the new Dalymount in 2 years' time, you now have a bit of a fan base and a following that could fill that capacity in the new Dalymount. It suffered on the pitch yesterday, I felt. I think Rennie's words after were telling. Kind of said, yeah, listen, it's a great occasion, but we would have won that game in Dalymount. And you kind of felt maybe they would. I think the way things are kind of going in the league at the moment, a lot of teams are playing 3-5-2. Can easily drop into a 5 at the back, and that's what happened yesterday. You kind of have that Formula 1 thing. you don't know what kind of car you have until the opening weekend. And
Well, I have a major issue with all that 3-5-2 and all the stuff, then the flexibility and all, and I'll outline the reasons why just in terms of the questions before we get into the football side, Barry, because I agree it was a great occasion yesterday, and the football did suffer. It was a bad game, but look, you can have bad games anywhere. We've seen that, top level sport, top level football, wherever. But we will get into the football chat. Just we want to hear Stephen Kenny's thoughts first, and then we're going to break down why the game was so bad, Barry.
You know what? We probably didn't deserve any more than a point, I think, but it's fair to say. But I felt my players really gave everything. You know, I thought it was a brilliant effort from the players. You know, it was important to keep a clean sheet. We probably just in the final third didn't create enough, and that Bohemians contained us from that point of view. And we needed Joost van Ank to make a couple of big saves, which he did. Is there areas of improvement? Yeah, for sure. Will we feel the benefits? A lot of players are getting that match under their belt. I think they definitely will. And we've a quick turnaround now to Galway on Friday, and we've got to make sure we're right for them.
That's a fair assessment, to be fair. As I said, I was in at the game, Richie. I thought Pat started okay, actually, to be fair. And we'll come to the Bohs side of things. But just after listening to Stephen, and that's a major problem, and he says in terms of the top end of the pitch not creating. You look at your XG in the game, 0.26. They never troubled the goalkeeper at all, to be fair. And the longer the game was going on, it looked Bohs the more likely winners, despite the fact that it being a bad game. It is only early. It is only the first game, obviously. But off the back of the disappointments last season, would it be a little bit of a concern for Stephen already?
Absolutely. Especially when you look, after losing Jake Mulroney, aren't they? After losing Mason Melia. Last year, they probably would have been hanging their hats on them too a little bit for the creativity and the goals. They've lost both of them.
No Forrester either?
No Forrester.
Big call.
Yeah, massive call. I know Stephen, he loves all-out attacking teams. He loves goal-scoring teams. He does, and normally his teams are like that, but last year they really struggled to score goals. They went through a really
42 last season.
Yeah, which is really low. It is, they went through a really bad patch of probably 7 or 8 games, probably without scoring a goal, which is really concerning. And then obviously they start this season and it's a 0-0 draw. I think if you had asked him before the game, would he take a 0-0 draw? I think he probably would have snapped the hand off you for it.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Especially in the Aviva, he has a lot of new players after coming into the club as well. He's after losing a couple of his main players. I think just to get points on the board, especially the occasion that was behind it, I think Stephen would have taken that. I don't think Rennie would have. I think you hear by his comments, I think Bohs probably would have preferred the game to be in Dalymount. I think I done a lot of games at Dalymount last year. The atmosphere there was incredible, and they kind of did get Bohs over the line a couple of times, I felt, last year. And they probably lacked that because the stadium was so big. Like
Barry, just on the Pats thing, 3 at the back, a bit of a little surprise for me. El Bazzetti, wing back, McClelland, attacking players obviously in the wide areas, lose El Bazzetti early. And I thought they did start well, but it just kind of petered out once Bohs kind of got to grips with the game and changed the formation to a point as well. But looking at it yesterday, I just think it would be a bit of a concern for Steve. Now, no Max Mata, to be fair, obviously with their big sign in the off-season centre forward, and maybe he can bring the goals. But Edmondson played up top with Keeney yesterday. How did you see the Pats' performance?
I just saw from some of the pre-season games that they looked like they were going with 3 at the back. They were kind of building up towards that. I was surprised Lennon, Bagley and McClelland all played together. Now, Bagley was excellent, I thought. He was sweeping up in the middle there. But Ramal Palmer sitting on the bench, creativity sitting on the bench, and you're looking at the players they brought in. Max Mata not there. El Bazzetti's now injured. How long is that out for? You just have their better players are missing for far too long.
Power's out injured at the moment.
That's it. And
he's long term as well.
But these players always seem to be injured for me.
Yeah.
Like they're great players, great names on paper, but they can't get them out onto the pitch is the problem. And you look at what they've lost as well. I just looked at them yesterday and I thought they're set up to not lose this game. I thought Bohs as well. Like I know Stevie's such a fan of playing a false 9 at the Aviva. He speaks about filling gaps so much. We played there in 2021 in the FAI Cup final, and he was so adamant. We played a false 9 that day, and just wanted to shore up those midfield kind of passing lanes and kind of defend from there. But I just thought it didn't really work for him. I thought it was easy to play it with Clark was there at Bohs. Did really well against Shamrock Rovers
because he's a big physical presence, Clark, as well.
I think if Douglas James Taylor was fit, I think he would have played.
Well, he said
I don't think they would have
played
played
one
the
that's
false
not
9.
available all the time for the bigger games. Like,
yeah.
I spoke to a lot of Bohs fans yesterday and they're questioning where he is. Like, this is their big signing, big fella they're looking to get the goals.
And who's under a bit of pressure
missing
at the start of the season because he didn't hit the ground running last year, and you're expecting this is the year he'll kick on. The Bohs thing for me, looking at it, it really kind of confused me at the start in the sense that It was just overcomplicating it. You had Flores dropping into a back three and then going in beside McManus when they were in possession. But it's overcomplicating things, Richie. In my opinion, you have Dawson Devoy, who's the best player in the league, I think, at the moment. Too high, they couldn't get him the ball in the early part of the game. Then when Mullen eventually was taken off, he was on the yellow and we'll go back to maybe the red card incident. I didn't think it was a red card, but I'll get your thoughts on it. But I felt that Bohs at that stage, once they changed the formation, Dawson went back getting a bit more on the ball, Flores went left full, a more orthodox 4-2-3-1 if you like, and Whelan was on as the focal point. They looked far better. Why do they overcomplicate things?
I don't know. It's like you've almost got too much of a build up to these games where you're overthinking things going into it. It's like a second album problem, isn't it? You've got a whole pre-season banking on this Pat's game. How are we going to do in this game? As you said, it's overcomplicating things, and once Whelan came on, it was totally different. It was a focal point, as you said, someone to play off. I thought Vaughan did well, like for his debut. I thought he was neat and tidy with it without being kind of too good in certain places. But I think Bohs is still looking for a centre forward. Speaking of half Fallon the other day in here, I think they're still looking for a centre forward, and that goes back to these massive events at the Aviva. You can complain about them all they want. I didn't hear anything from Bohs people yesterday. They weren't complaining at all because they know they've bought into the whole project. To have days like this can potentially be the making of bringing in the striker with the coffers.
Yeah, see just that with the Voy. I obviously said I watched a lot of Bohs last year. When he played as the sitter, I felt like he controlled the game.
Best player in the league, Richie.
Yeah,
absolutely. Him, Burke, Duffy.
They're all
they're up
level.
there. He was absolutely brilliant. He was the one that really controlled the game, got them playing from the back out and through the towards. When it got through the towards then, that's where I felt they really lacked the creativity. So you can see the thinking behind Rennie. A couple of times he flipped them from the sitter to the more advanced one in the game, and they completely lost control of the game then they did.
So that's the problem though, Richie, for me. So if you have him as the sitter, okay, and just as you're outlining, but then you nearly need him sitting and him receiving it as well. And that's the problem, and he can't be in two places at once.
Absolutely.
But to get hold of the game, you need him sitting there, I felt.
I thought they would have got someone to commit, like a Bagley off Pats or someone like that, which he does. He gets the ball and he controls the game. He's a lovely left forward. He plays through the towards. Someone like him, if they had got someone like him, that would have been able to push Dawson Devoy a little bit higher up the pitch. But I don't think they really have that player in there that's able to get the ball and play through the towards to him, which is where the problem is for them.
The only thing, in fairness to Alan Reynolds and Bohemians, Diallo has to come back into the team as well, and
he can do that.
He can do that,
exactly. Absolutely.
And, no, but I still think you could nearly have Dawson sitting beside him and still have your focal point. Because that was the one area I just and another major problem for me in the opening half an hour, and Pats never really exploited it. They did in the early part maybe, but you could have driven a bus through that midfield because you have Flores, who's no defensive instinct. We've seen Flores playing left full last year. He good on the ball but not defensively, and McManus as well. Like there was times there because Levy was pulling him out wide. There was a big gaping hole in the middle. I still think you need to have Dawson sitting there controlling the game, Ross Tierney ahead of him, and a focal point like Dougie. Yeah,
there was a conclave on the sideline with Stevie and Rennie. You saw when I saw that you're speaking about it, you could have driven a bus right through that centre midfield, and that would have really frustrated him. And I think that's when Pat started to grow into the game a little bit. By that little spell though, and the last 5 minutes, Pats didn't offer too much, and it was there for Bohs to go and win it, and I think they'd be a bit disappointed they didn't go and win it. In terms of the goalkeeper performance, the huge positive for St. Pat's, Anang, I thought he was excellent, and obviously the big moment in the game, pulled off a good save from Ross Tierney in the first half, and then the one-on-one with Parsons does brilliant. He does so well. His starting position is so good though. There's a great image of him just on the edge of the box, and he's spread himself so well. And you look at Pat's building blocks, 18 clean sheets last season, 50% of their games, and he was a massive part of that. That's such a great starting point to go. Add goals to that and they've got a great chance, but Joey for me is right up there, probably him and Evan Ginty at the moment. Goal scoring midfielder, I would have fancied you, Richie, one-on-one, you would have scored that. Absolutely. He should have scored Parsons. Do you know what? We spoke about John Ang and how good he was, and even his starting position, a few times he came out and cleared the ball before the boys were able to go through one-on-one, which is brilliant, but the shot straight at him. Parsons shot straight at him. Either side, and it's probably a goal. The only thing, Anang, he stands and he waits. He doesn't commit too early, which he does brilliant. But if that's me, just slot it down the side. I think he can go around him. Yeah, or even go around him. I think he had the momentum with him, didn't he? He's outside the box. He's moved right to the line. I think he has every option. Play then. He has every option, and literally the worst option he could have taken was hit it straight at the keeper, and that's what he done. Yeah. So overall, I felt
as I said, the occasion I felt was really good. As you says, Barry, I agree with a lot of what you say, Barry, in terms of the crowd and the occasion. And I know Alan Reynolds said he preferred to have the games maybe in Dalymount. And there is a bit of a fanfare about this, and the game got a little bit lost. But overall, I think it was really good. Just in terms of the teams themselves, we predicted last week they'd be kind of in around 4th, 5th, hovering around, chasing those European places, trying to break into the top 3, if you like. Has anything changed your mind after watching them in the opening day?
It's too hard to say this early, because I actually felt that there wasn't a lot of quality over all the games over the weekend.
I might come back to that, but I might come later on, because we have a few questions, just few people online as well.
Yeah, no, there was. I think a lot of the games lacked real quality. They did. Is that down to heavy pitches now? Probably not. When you think the game was played in the Aviva on a good surface. I know the other game was played up in Derry on an Astro.
Bad Astro.
Yeah, bad Astro, but it's not heavy on the legs. You just look for a little bit more quality. But look, the lads are having a really, really long off-season there. To come back in and expect to be hitting the ground running in game 1 is not going to happen. It's not. So I think over the next 5 or 6 weeks, you'd like to see a little bit more quality. Like that when Parsons going through on goal in 6 weeks' time after playing 4 or 5 90 minutes, you'd like to think that the quality will rise. Like,
Barry?
Yeah, it's funny how little pre-season games actually play now. I wouldn't remember.
They're nonsense. Pre-season games are just getting through without getting injured.
A lot of them are on Astros now.
Yeah.
So maybe the time of year.
All their
6
games
or
were
7,
on.
I think, 5 years ago, leading up to
Yeah.
a thing. It's obviously built around
I think
stats
Rovers
now.
had one. I think Rovers maybe had one pre-season.
It's probably
game.
different.
Stem
around. They
stats
went so
overrated,
late
Barry.
into, yeah, it's true.
Old school. Get out and run around the fields.
The thing about them is they're competitive enough, like, and you can kind of tailor your teams around it, and it's more match-like than training sessions. That's the only thing you can see, but it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks before you see the real quality on the pitch.
Okay, speaking of bad Astros, Derry City, Friday night, opening night, huge fanfare around the game as well.
Brilliant.
James obviously coming back, playing James McLean, his brother Patrick. Lots of signings, lots of hope, lots of expectation. Got there in the end, but just about.
Yeah, do you know what? I was expecting Derry to come out of the traps flying. I really was. As you said, the atmosphere around the place, they just won the President's Cup. The 2 McLeans are back in. You felt like there was a real buzz around the place. I thought the intensity in the first half from Derry was so poor. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was thinking, when is this game going to kick into life? And obviously then they get in at half time and Sligo are 1-0 up, and you're thinking, what's going on here? Like, this isn't the start that Derry had planned. You could probably feel it a little bit in the stadium as well. It kind of sucked a little bit of energy out of them. I thought Sligo done really well in the game.
They deserve credit. First half performance,
They were really good in the first half. Now, if that's on the back of Derry being a bit lacklustre and not having the intensity, probably a little bit of complacency as well, thinking, do you know what, we probably have one of the best squads in the league now. We just have to turn up. But that Derry, they would have drew or lost that game last year, and that's where we talk about the signings of James McLean and his brother Patrick. A little bit of experience, a little bit of grit, determination. They get through it, and they do absolutely brilliant then in the end to get the win, because that's the most important thing. As we said, the quality I don't think is there yet, which it won't be, but to have that grit and determination, just get over the line. That's what teams who want to win a league, that's what they do.
Barry, just on that point, I think it's fair what Richie raises, just in terms of it is the opening night. You're expecting the quality, as we said, maybe to get better as we go on, but it felt big. Even on the opening night, it felt big, that win.
It's massive. Like, you can feel a lull in the crowd when it's like we're excellent. I thought Pat in midfield was brilliant.
Young Pat and Derry,
You're speaking about Devoy dropping in with the yellow potential for Bohs. I think Winchester and McLean in there is excellent. I think Winchester just that kind of holding role. Let James play between the lines with his bit of quality. But Darren Markey had a bit of an off night. I think he was excellent in the President's Cup final, playing right of a tree. I just thought Sligo were really good in that first half. Like, he's done so well, John, to find these players. The Kiki again was excellent, but just felt if they scored that equaliser, you felt something was coming, they were going to win it. And that bit of momentum now with 4 home games on the trot, it's massive for Derry. Can they pick up another couple of points in those games and really make a statement early?
Yeah, even on that as well, I felt with Sligo looking at them in the first half. And if you look at the stats, even from the first half and then overall, in the first half, did 4 shots, 3 on target, 1 big chance, and they obviously get their noses in front. Second half, no shots, none on target, XG of 0.0. Yeah. It almost felt inevitable, and I think that's the difference in terms of the resources Derry are working off, and the budget and the players, as you said, and the squad. Where Sligo Rovers are bringing on Meeks and Stuart Harkin. No disrespect to the lads, but it almost felt inevitable watching that second half, even though it came late, and it was very late. Josh Thomas.
We spoke about quality, didn't we, as well? And you see Alex Bannon's goal. Talk about quality. That was an unbelievable finish, because they didn't really look like they were going to score up to that. And I think as soon as Bannon scored, I think then there was a little bit of a lift in the ground, and they felt like they could go on and win. I thought it was terrible defending for Josh Thomas' goal. Can't allow him inside on his left foot. It's a great finish from him. And I think we speak about players in a couple of weeks. I think if he gets a couple more 90 minutes in his game, I know you mentioned him last week as a really good sign for Derry, someone that could potentially be top goal scorer. I think he could be really, really threatening for them. Yeah,
he's got off to a great start, Thomas, and he was real tready. He even speaking afterwards in the interview, referenced the point that he missed two great chances, and the one on his left, good save by the keeper. Sargent played very well, to be fair. Brilliant save by Sargent from Winchester. But Josh Thomas, to get off your centre forward coming in, big signing, to get off the mark on the opening night, Barry, nothing better.
No, and you love to hear that as well. He doesn't care about missing chances. Johnny Kenny was something similar. Maybe take 2 or 3 chances and score the fourth. And Josh plays off that last kind of shoulder as well. He's
very similar to Johnny Kenny, very similar.
Stretches him, even that President Cup final stretch Pico Lopez, bottom out positions, and you've got strength and depth everywhere there. Marky there, Ollie Inc has got legs, James McLean running around the place. You've got
Adam O'Reilly comes on legs as well and energy.
You've got brilliant players everywhere, and it's squad depth. There's massive pressure on it. I just looked at their kind of pre-season press conference. 250 people at it in an auditorium.
Yeah.
And you've got the chairman sitting there with the
Brunswick
manager.
Bowl Cinema, Paddy Simpson, if you're listening, we give you a mention.
But there's huge pressure on it to go and do it now. And he's Philip O'Doherty's talking about having the blinkers on to go and win the league and potentially win next year. It doesn't work out like that.
Yeah.
You've got to go and do it on the pitch, but the statement they made the other night is a big one.
Yeah, isn't that something though? Well, certainly you, Richie, and the career you had as well. You want to embrace those challenges, don't you?
Absolutely.
Rather than kind of letting, and to be fair, getting that win, and now obviously the 4 home games, as Barry says, they're up and running.
Yeah, nobody wants to be playing in a stadium with 400 or 500 people in it. You don't want that. Any big player, they want the pressure on them. They do. They want them big occasions, Friday night lights. Give me the ball. I want to be the player to make a difference in the game. And I think Derry do have them sort of players. I know Duffy probably wasn't up to where the level.
Fleming left full, excellent again.
He's brilliant. He's very good. He is. So they have Duffy, Fleming, and as you said, they've Winchester and McLean in the middle of the park. They have real attacking threats with Josh Thomas, goals from Duffy. They're after signing the likes of Patrick McLean for that security at the back. Derry have a really, really strong squad. And as Barry said, I think there is a bit of pressure on them now with the squad that they do have.
On Derry, the last couple of points just before we come on to Sligo, Barry, but just not to throw kind of cold water on all those kind of expectations at the moment. I'd worry for them defensively. McLean, you look at the goal, there was no communication between him and Slevin. Now, I know they're a new partnership. We mentioned last week 2 left footers playing as 2 centre halves. Don't like it myself. Maybe it's just the optics of it. But looking at the game the other night and that goal that they can see, it was so soft. Hakiki just ghosted in off the back of James.
You can't be in the centre box free. That's a no.
It comes from Brian Maher as well, though. The warning signs were there. I think 5 or 6 minutes before, there were 3 or 4 crosses similar into the box, and it's not first contact. It's come all the way to the back post and it's recycled back in. That's where the goal comes from. As soon as that goes out, you got to get up. It's just too deep for me. As you said, it could be just the first night jitters with the two of them, not used to each other, but as Brian Maher's got to be pushing them right out of his box, he's got to come out, and that's an easy catch for him. But
would that be an area that teams will look to exploit in terms of all we're talking about is their attacking options in the midfield? Fleming loves to get forward, probably not the best defensively. The 2 centre halves now, 2 new centre halves. Alex Bannon, I thought did okay. Right full obviously gets a great goal, but is that certainly an area where they've a load of talent at the top end of the pitch? Defensively, maybe might be somewhere.
Yeah, and they switched from a 3 to back to a 4 back now, so it is the place.
I think that suits them better, though. Do you?
I think it always is. I think that they probably a player short of going back to a 3 at the back end. That's probably what the thinking was behind it. But I think when you've got somebody like Fleming and Bannon that like to push on, there is areas to do that, and probably not the 2 most mobile centre halves either. So if you can pull them out of position, there is chances for that, and you've got a young player like Hakiki up there, just found himself in space, and you could take advantage of it.
Yeah, Hakiki again popping up with the goal, did really well last season, Richie. Just on Sligo Rovers' performance, as you says, you thought first half really, really good.
Yeah.
Was it a case then though, almost kind of you get your noses in front, you're being pinned back psychologically? We've all been there, like you're sitting back. But they offered nothing in the second half. Like there was no even out ball to get you up the pitch, and it just felt kind of, as I said, Derry in overall 23 shots, 8 on target. It just felt inevitable.
Yeah, you could feel the pressure coming. And look, there's a lot of young players in that Sligo dressing room, and to be 1-0 up against Derry, who are one of the favourites to win the league, they were probably a little bit taken back by that. They probably weren't expecting to be in that position. So I'd say they were a little bit taken back by that. But like as you said, they had nothing offering going forward, and no wonder when they're losing their best players year upon year, especially last year they probably would have had Elding, who could have played in transition and created something out of nothing for you and got you that little bit higher up the pitch, but they just didn't have that option. And I actually feel really sorry for John Russell, because every year I think he's done an absolutely fantastic job. His best players get taken on him, and then he gets hit with that sucker punch in the last minute, and Josh Thomas's goal.
Yeah, I'm the same, Barry. We mentioned last week when we were previewing just in terms of John and the job that he did, and last year all the players, McGinty goes, Chapman goes, this year it's Elding, talk of Will Fitzgerald on the last day, maybe deadline day, he might go. It's such a hard job, isn't it? And to be fair to him, what he's brought in, Alex Nolan, O'Kane is signed permanent, Meekson came on as sub, but it just doesn't feel enough. Keane Cavan, I thought, like, he's there now, cut into a didn't offer much at all, gets taken off. Yeah. It's a tough ask for John again this season.
It is, and you feel like you're on an episode of Impractical Jokers, I think. If you're John for one stage, now take his best player, take his goalkeeper, you're sitting there like a week before, take his best striker away, and you must be thinking, geez, this happens every year to me, and it must come a point where you go, it's too much for me, I need to be somewhere that...
On that, Barry, just interesting. I know we've never been there maybe as managers, but there's going to come a point where he stands his ground and goes to the board. No, we can't.
Like, obviously,
the Elding one, obviously.
Yeah, look, that's inevitable.
But when you're losing players,
Chapman and McGinty, can he not go and be like, do you know what? Like, I'm doing a good job here.
Yeah, we want to build something.
Yeah, we want to build something. But that's what we say. It's really unfair, because the likes of a Derry and a Rovers, they'll just come in and handpick your best players now, and it's really unfortunate for, like we said it, didn't we, at the end of last year? All the clubs that are probably not based in Dublin, every year their best players get handpicked off them, which is so unfair. Like.
It's a fan-owned club, though, and that's the difference. And they're happy
it's what
with
they're
the way
competing against, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've done it. Like, the amount they bring in donations and fundraising is incredible. It's phenomenal. Like, but as a manager, you're thinking, I just can't put out these fires every season. One season we're going to get caught.
Yeah.
Like, and you do see them. Sometimes they start slow and they rally in July when he can bring in new recruits. And John has this great ability of pulling players from other teams who haven't quite hit the heights of other teams and turn them into really good players, and then they go back to their teams and he loses it again.
Well, the prime example of that last season, McManus comes in, does really well. You see him starting in the Aviva yesterday. You know, James McLean is starting for Derry at centre half, so that's a prime example. Gets
at some
the best.
point he's going to want to go to, I want to be at the club that those players are going to.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a manager now who's proven myself at this level. Can I go to the next level?
And is that kind of, I suppose, what will happen? He'll be the one that'll go, not the players.
Yeah, he could, like, if Pats don't have a brilliant start, if the Bohs don't have a brilliant start, their clubs,
he could be potentially
be them, because as we said, he's done a great job with what he's had at Sligo, but that's a big fear, isn't it? Like, you don't want Sligo to be that club that are losing their best players and then they're losing the manager. If another manager comes in and does a good job, is he going to go as well? So you'd love to see them give him a little bit more backing, but you can see why they don't as well, because that's just not the way the club is run. Like.
Okay, well, hopefully John can as say, put out more fighters, Barry, from my point of view, and the job he's doing. As said, it's so difficult, so hard for him. But another team who we were kind of talking about last week about potentially being down there, but got off to a decent start, was Waterford. A lot of new players, 7 debutants. Listening to John Daly after the match, delighted with the resilience they showed. You listened to Joey O'Brien, felt they just weren't clinical enough. 67% of the ball, 24 shots, 5 on target, and that probably speaks to the clinical side of things, that there was only 5 on target. Got their noses in front, concede from a set piece. Who'll be the happier here?
It's got to be John. I think, like, to settle in as a manager as well, you want your first big result, and I feared from a little bit when Shels got that opening goal. I think, as you said, they weren't too good in front of goal. They missed a lot of chances as well, but the old kind of wounds kind of reared their heads again for Waterford at the back. Really sloppy the way they gave away that goal. 2 or 3 chances to clear it. Martin gets in and slots at home, but as you said, they were resilient, and when you've got Amund and Lonergan up there, you've got a great chance. Now with Conan Noonan's delivery, he's just exceptional.
It was a great header, wasn't it, by Lonergan?
Yeah, it was. It's a brilliant ball in, but like, you kind of had to watch it back going, is that deflected off? How's that gone in? But it's just a bullet header. Really good header, but I think those two up front are always dangerous. But they brought in man at the back in Couto as well from Cork. From Sligo,
whole new back four. When you look at it across the back four, there was Luke Heaney played right full, obviously got in for Drogheda. John Mann, we mentioned John. I think it's a good reset for John going to Waterford, because I always liked John, just things haven't kind of materialised maybe the way he wanted in his career, so this could be a good refresh. And John Daly referenced him after the match himself, and the other Hayden Can, the two of them played centre half, really good. Benny Couto. So considering it was a whole new back four, 7 debutants, I think he'd be delighted with the 1-1.
John would be absolutely delighted with that. Honestly, now on the flip side of that, Joey will be absolutely fuming.
He looked it after the match.
That was their Achilles heel last year, wasn't it?
not killing teams.
Yeah, they drew 14 games last year.
Yeah.
If you want to win a league, there's no way you can go and draw 14 games. It's impossible. So he'll be really disappointed in that. We spoke about last week about needing a striker in the league that's going to go and get you that 20 goals a season. If Shels had that, I think that would make them clear favourites to win the league, but they just don't have that striker, they don't.
Just before we come on to the Shels thing, Barry, the last thing just with Waterford, and kind of touching on what we were saying about Sligo, maybe not with the strength and depth, he was able to bring on 3 substitutions, which he effectively said changed the game, and Sam Glenfield was one of them, and brings a bit of energy. You're bringing off 3 decent players, Evan McLaughlin, young Keane Barr.
They have a squad down there.
So that's what I'm saying. Is that something that will give them the edge over the likes of maybe a Sligo or Galway or Dundalk?
And he spent 50 grand on Conan Noonan as well, so he's backed him. And Conan could have easily stayed at Shamrock Rovers and tried to build himself into that squad, but no, they went out and backed themselves. Right, here's the money, we want this player. He was excellent for his last season, showing his quality again. And they also have the Fleetwood model. They've got access to other players as well that a Sligo don't, and a Drogheda do as well. So you just find himself kind of looking for the rest around the league. John at Sligo, but down at Waterford, I think he'll do a great job down there. He's an excellent manager.
It's a good environment down there as well.
Yeah, facility wise and stuff.
Yeah, I know the pitch was a little bit heavy thing, but there's nothing you can deal with the weather. Do you know what I mean? That's one of them things. But anytime I play it down there, the dressing rooms are lovely. Yeah. The pitch is always
they have a lovely training complex.
Lovely training complex. So straight away, if you're up against going to a Galway, a Drogheda, a Sligo, and Waterford come in for you, you probably do be like, well, they have the facilities, they have the pitch. Yeah, I'll probably go down there and give it a bash and be a proper full-time professional footballer. Do you know what I mean?
One of those that has kind of made that move, if you like, now still coming from a good environment, but who you may know well, Richie, is young Conan Noonan.
Brilliant.
Is it a brave move on his part? As Barry says, you could have stayed around maybe potentially and tried to earn your place and win your place into that Shamrock Rovers, but brave to say, no, I want to go out and play regularly.
I love that idea. See any player that's happy to be in an environment where they come on for 20 minutes, they don't play for 3 or 4 weeks, they might start the game, play for an hour. Now see someone so young and so talented as Conan is, he needs to be playing every single week. He needs to be he's still learning the game, he is. So for him to make that decision and go there, it's only going to benefit himself, his career, and Waterford. I think you see last year he got a lot of really important goals and assists. He started off on the first night by getting a really good assist again, and I think Barry said it, his partnership with him, Lonergan and Padraig Hammond, any defence coming up against that is going to be thinking, we need to be really careful here, because you have a natural goal scorer in Padraig Hammond, Tommy Lonergan again at getting his first goal of the season, and then you have the creativity Conan Noonan. So I think Waterford will do all right this year.
Okay. Shels, Barry, my tip for the league, not changing my mind. 1-1, wouldn't mind that. They're only up and running. They're getting going. But just Joey was disappointed, wasn't he? And I outlined some of the stats in the game. Like you listened to his interview, totally controlled the game. He felt one maybe moment lapse in concentration. He also spoke to the point of giving away a sloppy free and conceding from a set piece. He didn't like that, especially his kind of defensive nous as well. Decent enough start, or even in this early stage, he says we talk about Derry getting over the line even on the opening night. He will be disappointed with that, won't he?
Yeah, I think he'll have in the back of his mind the way they approached it when they won it that season is they got out ahead. They got a steam on everyone, and I think you just can't give up any ground to Shamrock Rovers.
Because the Shamrock Rovers now on Friday night, don't they?
It's a massive game now for both. The way Derry have started for hours, they need to get those 3 points on the board, but for Shels, the way they've started with a draw, they need to go and win at home now. But they've made some brilliant signings. I think obviously the Jarvis one is massive, but Casey I thought was really good at centre half with Paddy Barrett beside him. They shored up probably where they were defensively weak last season. They need to add goals to the game, though. As Rich said, they need a centre forward who can score goals. Brilliant quality in around it. Jarvis Wood in around it now. Kerr McElroy midfield, but you need a focal point. You need those goals.
Yeah, that was the one thing we kind of were worried about, wasn't it, Richie? Just in terms of the goals, John Martin gets off the mark. He's probably one of these lads. Now, Joey spoke glowingly after the match about him, but to me, he's one of these lads who you'd love. Probably an unbelievable professional in the dressing room. If you asked him playing goals, I'm sure he's playing goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in terms of winning the league title, you do want that. Now, the reason I tipped him last week is because I knew Jarvis was coming.
That's a great
See, I was way ahead of the game, boys. Right? This is what I'm saying.
He's that goal scorer. He can score goals. He can.
If he hits the ground running, like obviously we've seen when he was here, the question is though, he came on the other night and played on the left. Will he play through the middle?
Yeah, I don't know. Especially
he started with 2 strikers the other night.
Yeah, you have Sean Boyd as well. You have. The only concern is I don't think any of Shell's strikers are going to get you the goals that you need. So they need to come from other parts of the pitch. They need to come from a Jarvis. They need to come from a Harry Wood. I would like to even see Ciara McEnroy get a few more goals. I know we got some really important ones last year, but like that to get double figures, that's, if you don't have that striker that's going to get you them 20 goals a season, everybody else needs to chip in more than what other teams have in their midfield and their defence. Like, even when I was at Dundalk, we had Brian Gartland. I think Gart's got maybe 12 goals one year, which was massive for us winning the league. Do you know what I mean? And that's probably what Shels need if they don't have that striker that's going to get you the goals.
Could potentially be one of them. New centre half, Casey, everybody raving about him before he signed, had a really good debut tonight. Interesting enough for me, Barry, they played with a back four, something we hadn't seen with Shels obviously in the last couple of years. Obviously they played the wing backs, but there was no Norris there the other night, but they played the back four, Casey beside Barrett led, which left full. Was that something new?
Yeah, I think so, and that's obviously Joey's reference last season. I think is that they wanted more control in midfield, and they've got the quality players to go and do it. I was just surprised that nobody went and picked up Pádraig Hamilton in the off season. I thought he'd been perfect for Shels.
I met Pádraig.
I don't know if he would have went.
I met Pádraig.
He would 100% went.
Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Sorry, Pádraig. I met Pádraig on the day of the cup final, and there was talk potentially.
Two teams were in from what I heard on that day.
Which, and it's
He's
not
from
surprising,
there, isn't he?
He's
from Waterford.
No,
Carlo.
Carlo.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's
but
from
and he's just signed a new 2-year deal, obviously, with Waterford. So huge for them to hold on to him. But as you say, Barry, you were surprised, were you?
Like, you look at the goals he's got. He's top scorer the last 2 seasons. That's exactly what both they're
absolutely.
missing, and even Shamrock Rovers as well. Like,
Brilliant
you look
professional
at-
as well.
Oh, he's
brilliant in the dressing room.
So how
doesn't
many
miss a
goals
game.
did Waterford have in the game? How many shots did Waterford have in the game? Do you know?
Not many.
Yeah, and you look at Shels, they had 24. If he's getting that amount of chances per game, imagine what his potential could be to score.
That's the reason I went for Thomas as the top scorer, because
they'll create.
they'll create the chances. So if he even gets 3 or 4, you'd fancy him to take one. Something similar if maybe with Shels the other night. Now, they're only 5 on target, so if Amond is playing, potentially, as you
It's that Ancelotti thing, just stay between the posts,
Yeah.
isn't it? That's where we want you. That's where you do your business. And he's got the legs to still do it at 37 to do other bits as well, but goals are there.
Now, they have brought in the lad
Didn't do it.
Freitas. We have to wait and see
Yeah,
what he
we'll see
does,
what he's
maybe.
like. Yeah, we spoke
But
about
again,
him
an
once.
unknown quantity. It's hard to tell.
It's that Jamestown model as well that Brighton are using to try and pick out players as well. But I think Joey knew Vazte, his agent as well, brought him in, knows what he's about, thinks he's got goals in him. So maybe they're taking a gamble on him. But I just would have gone with somebody who has those goals.
Yeah,
in
the
his
3
locker.
who were kind of questioning there, 2 of those started the other night, Meepo and John Martin.
Yeah.
Potentially, can you see Jarvis maybe playing off one of them through the middle?
Yeah, you could do maybe Boyd would be the perfect one to
The
play
only
off.
problem with Boyd, and I always say this with Sean,
He always gets sent off.
or he's always injured.
Can't get him on the pitch.
Yeah.
He misses a lot of games. He's brilliant as that focal point he is.
Brilliant.
And if you had Wood and Jarvis playing off him, there's goals right there. Like, do you know
I
what I
don't
mean?
think Meepo could do it. I think Meepo's great for going into the channels.
Yeah.
I don't think he could play off him. I don't think he's conservative enough in the middle to play off him, but Boyd could.
I tipped him last week. We got Richie's prediction, Barry. We didn't get yours yet, so I'm going to ask you while I have you here now. In terms of winning the league, who do you fancy?
I still think Rovers are the team to beat.
Okay.
I think it probably masks how far ahead of Derry they were the last 4 games of last season. Lost 4 out of 5 when the league was effectively won. But for me, I think it's between Rovers and Shels. I think Derry would be right up there, but I think it's just too early in their evolution to go and win it. But I think Rovers.
Okay, just on the last game down that we saw at the weekend, Galway, who we've obviously spoken about last week, may get struggles this year. But to be fair to them, the other night, they had their chances. Richie, their XG was 2.49. John Caulfield will be very happy with that. 16 shots, now only 3 on target, but the big one obviously is the penalty kick. You won't get a better chance. How disappointed will they be to get caught with the last minute goal then from Drogheda?
He'd be absolutely devastated, especially knowing John. John's an absolute winner, he is, and they were in a great. They started the game really well. They did, as you said, they had some good chances in the game, and then the penalty. As soon as Hurley missed the penalty, you could see Drogheda's confidence grew. It grew massively into the game. They were playing on the break. And then they get that carbon copy goal. If you had said Drogheda are going to win 1-0, what do you think the goal would be like? You would have said long throw, corner or free kick into the box, and they play. They do brilliant. The initial deliveries are always good. I know this one was a long throw, but they keep the second ball alive so well, they do. And that's how Jago gets his goal. And it's brilliant for him on his debut as well.
And see the likes of that, Richie, there's a snobbery towards that. So I actually think if that's one of your strengths, play to it. And Kevin Doherty
you
does
see all
does
the
it
teams are doing
brilliantly.
it. All the big boys are doing it now. And
Top of the Premier League,
Yeah,
Arsenal, like.
yeah. You see your Brentfords, and you see St. Pat's in the Aviva, their long throws. that's becoming such a big team now in football, and I think Kevin was just ahead of the curve, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was pulling rabbits out of a hat for a long time last year, top of the league for large spells as well. Barry, I don't see that happening this year, but just in terms of, I suppose, the job that Kevin has done, and we spoke lots of times about it, but to get off, I suppose, the opening night with 3 points away from home against the team who people are suggesting maybe down around you this season, massive win.
It is, and it's 5 debuts as well, and one off the bench to get the winner. That's incredible. And he's probably a little bit similar to John at Sligo as well. He's every year his best players are nicked from as well. He's got to rebuild, but they probably have access to players with the multi-club ownership that they don't have. But they've used it so well. And you just look at the other night. You've seen him go down to Galway a couple of times over the last couple of seasons. John's come out of it despondent after losing the game or drawing the game. But that's a massive result on the opening night to go down and win that. And the momentum that brings with you going into next week is huge.
Yeah, you lose Josh Thomas, you lose Dougie toward Douglas James Taylor in the mid-season, you lose Dara Markey. Like, to keep churning them out, like, the results is phenomenal.
Love Kev.
You love Kev.
It's brilliant. I can't speak highly enough of him. I see the way you're talking about him losing, and he's had to losing a lot of creativity and goals there with, as you said, Thomas, James Taylor and Darren Markey. That is his creativity and his goals.
Like, you only have to look at where those 3 players are gone.
Exactly, yeah. They've all gone to big clubs they have. But you see how disciplined they are and how together they are as a team. You'd always fancy them to nick one on the break then. I always fancied Drogheda to go and keep a clean sheet, no matter where they play or no matter who they play against. And you'd always fancy them to nick a goal somewhere because of that. The long throws, the balls into the box, the big boys coming up who got a lot of important goals last year.
The keeper did well for them, obviously, last year.
Done brilliant, yeah. So, look, I think Kevin's done an incredible job on the resources that he has, so fair play to him. Like.
Yeah, a new name for the league this year, Jago Godden.
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
Big Jago pops up in the 91st minute, was it? Dream debut, only comes off the bench, trained with the lads the day before. Kevin said it was one of the best training performances he's ever seen.
I'd love to see what happened in that training.
Yeah, I know.
He sounds like some player,
The day before the game, there's probably a few set plays.
Jago sounds like some player. I haven't even spoken to Kevin about how good Jago was yet, but obviously it was some to come on and score. Barry, brilliant.
But like, it's an unknown quantity coming onto the off the bench as well. Like, they're just going, where's this fella playing? What's he doing? And just to flick on from Ryan Brennan was brilliant as well. And for him to be still doing that at his age and what he's been doing down through the years has been phenomenal. But to get that goal, it just sets him up going into next week.
You've no concerns about Drogheda this year either?
I don't. So I think they probably have to dampen expectations a little bit up there over the last couple of seasons they've had. They've probably played above what they are about. And it's probably the struggle for Kev is probably dampening things down a little bit, but he's just done such a great job up there.
Okay, so that's the opening weekend, boys. Absolutely fantastic. I just want to ask a couple of questions. Just, I suppose, the big game this Friday, Shelburne against Shamrock Rovers. We had no Shamrock Rovers this weekend. Didn't get a look at them, or Dundalk. Is that a good thing or a bad thing going into such a game already on the opening, on the second night of the season against one of your nearest rivals, Shelburne and Untitled Park?
Look, they didn't get many pre-season games. They obviously used the President's Cup as one of their pre-season games. I know they got a friendly in over the weekend. They did, so that probably stand.
Aaron Green playing with his son.
Yeah, it's unreal, isn't it? And he got
Great
2
story,
goals.
wasn't it?
Green, I got 2 goals again.
Is the young fella better than the father?
No, I don't think so. He has a long way. He has a long way to go, doesn't he? Greener's been absolutely incredible in the league. He has, but it's great to see stuff like that. And I think having that game will help them going in because they're going to need it. Talca Park's going to be bouncing on Friday night, so it'll be a tough game for them.
We did have a couple of questions in, Barry, just from people online, and no one better placed than yourself in terms of a goalkeeper. Joseph Anang, brilliant performance yesterday. We've been asked the question, is he the best in the league?
He's up there. In terms of stats, he's obviously up there. 18 clean sheets last season. He does have the odd moment about him. You saw down in Galway last year coming out and he's conceded from the halfway line at Rovers a couple of games as well. He had some poor performances, but I think at this level you're going to get that with goalkeepers as well. If you're good for 90% of the games, I think that's the level you're probably at now. And for those 90% of games, he's excellent. He's a difference between a draw and losing the game for Pats last season. But again, he's added his starting position this year is a little bit higher up. I just noticed in the game the other day as well, and talking to Pat Jennings about him, he absolutely loves him, raving about him. So he's right up there. It's probably between him and Ed McGinty for me.
Would you go McGinty?
I think just a little bit ahead of McGinty. I think his all-round play, you just look at his one-on-ones, he's absolutely incredible. That President's Cup game, the amount of times they could have been out of sight 3 or 4, only for him coming on with one-on-ones. I just think his all-round game is a little bit better.
Another one we were asked just from a Galway point of view, and it caught me attention because John Caulfield being a brilliant manager in the league, so successful. and a brilliant part of the League of Ireland, John, a brilliant character, and I know John really well. But someone suggesting, should Galway have maybe cut ties with him at the end of last season? The disappointment, rather than, I suppose the point that the viewer was making was the fact that it's a bit of a rebuilding job now for Galway. You lose a lot of big players, senior players. Is that a fair comment?
I don't think. No, I think they were right to give John another go. Look, John is another one, isn't he, that loses his best players quite regularly, which is
probably
really
better
unfair.
resourced though, Galway, than some of the other ones.
Yeah, no, they are, and I completely understand that, and it's a great place to play down there. I love playing down there. I do. It's brilliant. It's always a great atmosphere and stuff like that. But I think you see what John's done in the league. John's done absolutely incredible. He knows the league inside out. And as you said, they have got a bit of a rebuild down there. And I don't think there's a better man to do it than John, because he knows the league inside out.
So Stephen Kenny, lads, yesterday obviously well decked out in the Aviva, but I thought it was a lovely touch remembering Damien Byrne, who sadly passed away last week. A former captain, won the league, I think, under Brian's team, going back 35 years ago, I think. So it was a lovely touch by Stephen in tribute to the former Saint. And it was, as I said, a lovely day out yesterday for them all. So nice touch by St. Pat's and Stephen Kenny.
Brilliant, yeah.
Yeah, it was, and you see Brian up in the stand wearing the same as well. Obviously all decked out, brilliant, but yeah, sad loss.
Lads, it's been an absolute pleasure. That was brilliant. And I look forward to more chats throughout the season. We're up and running.
Yeah,
great,
absolutely
brilliant. That's all, folks. Thanks for all the messages just last week, and keep them coming. We'll have obviously a weekly podcast, RTÉ Soccer Podcast, and any comments for Richie, keep them coming, batter him.
Yeah,
That's what I say.
Send them to Alan.
Talk to you next week. Thanks, folks.